I have something that I remember that might be interesting. I had a friend who lived on Salisbury Road in 1944-45. She had a little red wagon. She used to get in a little red wagon and go down Salisbury to Commonwealth, coast down Commonwealth to Foothill Boulevard, and ride along Foothill Boulevard in a little red wagon. That's the kind of place it was in those days. We first started with just organization because we were just all volunteers. We cleaned the toilets and washed the floors.
It was brand new.
Well, it was brand new. It was brand new. It was very modern and very brand new, and it was, wonderful. It was finally the first time that people, youth especially, had some place to go.
It was a great place to hang out with your girlfriend. Or get a girlfriend, and in those days get your first kiss or whatever was going on in the 8th grade.
It was just so fun to run around.
Right.
A lot of running, and at the end I was so tired, but just, God, that was so fun.
I know, because you couldn't really do that at home because you would be, at least in my case, with several sisters, I feel like I would always be criticized for being sweaty and dirty and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I was a lot.
When I went down, almost 10 years ago to have my interview, the executive director at that time walked us back, and I walked in that room and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I had been in that room since gymnastics.
Right.
Immediately, it all came back to me, and the room felt very small.
Yeah, right.
Because I was bigger. And I mean, it's funny because the facility itself, not just the field and the eroding, hill, the facility is the same.
Yeah.
And I've looked at pictures of the 50s and 60s and 70s. It's still like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's truly, I mean, these volunteers, the center was built by volunteers.
Oh, okay.
They had a vision for this place for kids to go and be together. And, it's kind of amazing because it's still doing exactly what they intended it to do 60 years ago.
There was no soccer, there was no t-ball, there was
Little League.
very, very few organized activities outside of school.
I wish that the community would see us as truly a, center of town, a center of life. It's hard to get on the radar.
To me, being on the board is really trying to recapture a vision of what this was like in the 50s and 60s. So that's really my vision, is to try to bring it back to its once prominent place in this community. This is the place you came and hung out after school. And I went to my first sock hop here, and there was a complete wallflower. The girl I loved was Sue Swanson, and she was on that side, and I stayed right where I was. I didn't have the gumption.
My name is Molly Brockmeyer, legally married Jane Brockmeyer.
And my name is Neil Brockmeyer.
We met in kindergarten at La Cañada Elementary School.
But she had pigtails, and I had chaps, suspenders, so we didn't really hit it off right away.
Well, our first experience was at the junior high.
Youth house was, just starting up just next door.
And so all our dances and everything were at the youth house. And then the Harvestman Ball, like Neil said, which was very unique at the time because it was the adults and the teenage kids together.
And at that point, we began classes. And one of the most successful was the pottery
Jean
class.
Taylor and her pottery.
Is that her name?
And, Jean Taylor, and she's still active.
When I came, there were only 2 classes a week with like 5 or 6 students. I was desperate for money. I mean, I was really very poor at that time. I would go to the store with $18 in my pocket for the week. I used to count out the potatoes, literally. So I was desperate. When you're desperate, you think, how can I get this to be larger? I've got to make it so wonderful for people that they want to come.
I just don't, even though we were primarily there to play soccer, I don't remember the soccer. It's not the first thing that comes to my mind. The first thing that comes to my mind is chaos and being completely free to like run around. And I mean, it was so undeveloped, and it's still undeveloped. There isn't like a formal playground there with like plastic equipment and bark and stuff like that. There's just a dirt hill. So there's a lot of pretend time.
What's different about the community center than school?
You don't have to do homework. And you don't have a desk. Yeah, but you don't have to do all this work. You don't have to be like super quiet.
There's still a need for that type of open space. And the reason why is because I didn't really see it until having a 2-year-old.
We need to create environments where our children can succeed and fail and suffer the consequences of both.
There are very, very few spaces, even when you go to parks, actually, where he can just do what he wants to do. And because there aren't manufactured fun areas for him, that he can just sort of be creative and do what he wants to do. And you can't do that in the town center, where basically all you can do is drop off or pick up, things that need to be sent to the cleaners, or you need to buy something like a book or something like that. If you want to go somewhere where the kids can really interact and manipulate their environment, I don't know of too many places like that.
How can we make this building even more wonderful for the community?
You want it to be made of, natural things like wood and rock, but you also want it to be a place where kids can get the walls dirty, and make a mess and do fun things, and I'm sure it's going to be that way if Megan's guiding the ship. If she doesn't, I'll tell her about it.
When you come back to La Cañada, does it feel like the same place?
It feels the same when I'm at the community center.
The looks of La Cañada hasn't changed. You come up the foothills and you still see all the trees, and it's just, we're home again.
Yeah, exactly.